Hello students, in this video we will start a new topic of IB curriculum, that is the cell theory. I must tell all the students that these topics are not included in CBSE as it is. There is some difference, but these videos will be basically mainly for the IB curriculum and the IB students. Okay, so if we talk about the biology subject, as you know, the first and foremost topic that we need to discuss is cell theory. तो इस वीडियो में हम बात करेंगे कि सेल थ्योरी से कैसे कैसे क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, किस तरीके से पूछे जाते हैं और उनका मेन आप कह सकते हो कंटेंट क्या है. सो वी विल बी डिस्कसिंग ऑल दीज थिंग्स. तो व्हेन वी डिस्कस अबाउट द cell theory, so introducing the cell theory, if we talk about this, the important theories in biology is cells are the smallest possible units of life and living organisms are made up of cell. This has been taught to you. But if you talk about the ancient Greeks, they debated that living organisms, they were composed of divisible fluid or indivisible subunits. तो ग्रीक एंशियंट जो थे वो इस बारे में बात करते थे, जैसा कि हम बात करते हैं कि जो हमारा सेल है वो प्री एग्जिस्टिंग सेल से आया है. बट इन एंशियंट ग्रीक उनका मानना ऐसा था या उनका बिलीफ ऐसा था दैट जो हमारा ऑर्गेनिज्म है या जो ऑर्गेनिज्म जिस मटेरियल से बना हुआ है लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म, वो एक डिविजिबल फ्लूइड है या एक इनडिविजिबल सब यूनिट का पार्ट है. बट जब माइक्रोस्कोप की डिस्कवरी हुई, बट द इन्वेंशन ऑफ द माइक्रोस्कोप सेटल्ड दिस डिबेट. माइक्रोस्कोप की डिस्कवरी ने इस स्टेटमेंट को या आप कह सकते हो इस परसेप्शन को चेंज कर दिया. उसके बाद माइक्रोस्कोप की डिस्कवरी के बाद वी केम टू नो दैट सेल्स कंसिस्ट ऑफ साइटोप्लाज्म एंड इट इज़ एनक्लोज्ड इन अ प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन. In plant and animal cells, there is usually a nucleus that contains genes also. So, as the time passed and the more and more discoveries were there related to the cell, and you can say research based on the microscopic studies, humans in early 1800th century also they concluded that cells are the main part of the living organism. But if you talk about the plant and animal cells, nucleus is also present along with the genes. In a very early stage, genes were not called like this term genes only. genes terminology बहुत बाद में आई है. उससे पहले genes को factors या units या कह सकते हो आप ऐसा कोई फैक्टर माना जाता था जो किसी एक पर्टिकुलर कैरेक्टर के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल है किसी ऑर्गेनिज्म में. जो नेक्स्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट टॉपिक है in this related to the cell theory, that is exceptions. Exceptions are really asked so many times if you talk about your IB curriculum. So exceptions to the cell theory are also there, and these exceptions, as you can see, one exception is skeletal muscle and other is giant algae, that is acetabularia. If you talk about the skeletal muscle, that is made up of the muscle fiber like cells. These fibers are enclosed inside a membrane, but they are much larger than the most cells and they contain hundred of nuclei. Whereas if we talk about the giant algae as acetabularia, they can grow to a length of near about 100 millimeter. So we would expect them to consist of many small cells, but they only contain a single nucleus that are not multicellular. ठीक है, न्यूक्लियस इज सिंगल, न्यूक्लियस आपका सिंगल है एंड दीज आर नॉट मल्टी सेलुलर. दैट यू नीड टू कीप इन योर माइंड. इफ यू look at the diagram also, there is one cytoplasmic part, nuclear part. You can look into the diagram also. Now third exception to this theory is aseptate fungi. They consist of thread-like structures and these are called hyphae. These hyphae are not divided up into the subunits containing a single nucleus. Instead, they are long undivided sections of hyphae which contain many nuclei. So these hyphae, if you talk about the fungi. These are thread-like structures, and these are not divided into subunits. They contain a single nucleus. Instead, there are long undivided sections of hyphae which contain many nuclei. Generally क्या होता है, आपका जो cytoplasm है that is going to divide and it contains its own nucleus, but in this case what is going to happen, cytoplasm is not going to divide, only nuclear part is going to divide, and a single nucleus is being converted into nuclei. Despite these and some other discrepancies, there is a strong overall trend for living organisms to be composed of cells, so the cell theory has not been abandoned. Now, if we talk about the biology, if we talk about the drawings or the diagram making, there are few rules which are being discussed here, that a sharp pencil with a lead, hard lead, should be used, and this allows a clear sharp single lines to be drawn as shown in the figure. You can see a bad representation, a good representation. There should not be no gaps, overlaps or multiple linings while drawing or drawing your diagram. Labeling can be with ink or pencil with labeling lines rather than arrows. Labeling lines should be drawn using a ruler and they should point precisely to the structure being labeled as shown in the figure. You can clearly see. As we know, if we classify organisms, we can classify into two broad categories, unicellular and multicellular organisms. Now, the functions of the life in unicellular organisms. If we talk about this, the unicellular organisms, they consist of only one cell. They carry out all function of the life in that cell. एक आपका जो single cell है वही सारे functions perform करेगा. Two examples of this is paramecium that lives in pond and the Clydomonas that lives in the freshwater habitat, and their size is being given 0.0022 to 0.010 millimeter in diameter. They are similar in how they carry out some functions of the life and different in others. And if you look at the diagrams also, you can clearly see that they are the unicellular organisms, and different organelles or compartments are present for performing different functions. Now, how these are going to perform the function? If we talk about the paramecium, if nutrition we talk, that feeds on the smaller organisms by ingesting and digesting them in vesicles by the process endocytosis. ठीक है, तो पैरामीशियम अगर उसकी न्यूट्रिशन की हम तरीके की बात करें तो वो क्या करता है, इट फीड्स ऑन द स्मॉलर ऑर्गेनिजम्स, और वो क्या करता है, इंजेस्ट करने के बाद ऑर्गेनिज्म को उसको डाइजेस्ट करता है वेसिकल्स में. वेसिकल्स अगेन दे आर स्मॉल बैग लाइक स्ट्रक्चर्स जिसमें डाइजेस्टिव एंजाइम्स दे आर प्रेजेंट फॉर द डाइजेशन. एंड if we break the term endocytosis, endo means inside, cytosis means breakdown. Okay, so endocytosis is the feeding on smaller organisms by ingesting and digesting them in the vesicles. Now, if you talk about the Clydomonas, produce its own food by photosynthesis using a chloroplast that occupies much of the cell. Now, growth, if we talk, in paramecium, increase in size and dry mass by accumulating organic matter and minerals from its food. Increase in size and dry mass due to the photosynthesis and absorption of minerals in case of the Clydomonas. Response, if we talk about the response, paramecium reacts to the stimuli, reverse in its direction of movement. It touches a solid object. Okay, so paramecium, it reacts to the stimuli and obviously in the reverse direction as written. Now, Clydomonas, it also reacts to the stimuli, senses where the brightest light is with its eye spot and swim towards it. You can clearly look into the diagram also that Clydomonas has a eye spot. Okay, this eye spot, what it does, it responds to the light and it helps the Clydomonas to swim towards it. Now next is excretion. Excretion is the expulsion of the waste products of the metabolism, that is like carbon dioxide from respiration, and it diffuses out of the cell. Okay, so these are the unicellular organisms. Much of the waste is in the form of the gaseous form, whereas Clydomonas, it expels waste of metabolism, oxygen from photosynthesis, and diffuses out of the cell. Now next, metabolism. Both Paramecium and Clydomonas, they produce enzymes which catalyze many different chemical reactions. If we talk about the homeostasis is the maintaining the optimum body conditions. Optimum body conditions में हमारा pH ऑफ ब्लड आ जाता है, pH ऑफ सलाइवा आ जाता है, बॉडी टेम्परेचर आ जाता है, कि जो ऑप्टिमम रिक्वायरमेंट्स एक ह्यूमन बॉडी की या फिर किसी आप दूसरे ऑर्गेनिज्म की बात कर रहे हो तो उसका बैलेंस बना के चलना, दैट इज होम्योस्टेसिस. Reproduction, if we talk, both reproduces asexually using mitosis or sexually using meiosis and gametes. Okay, this is the part of the reproduction in case of the Paramecium and the Clydomonas. So in this video we will be discussing only these features of the unicellular and multicellular organism. I hope you like the video. Thank you.